maybe they should. More Banshees coming out for the little one. Both players doing an excellent job trying to keep their opponents in their base as much as possible. These Marauders not really doing too much, but now getting loaded up into the medvac, and here we go, going across the chasm. This could be very damaging for the little one, whose only response will be these Banshees coming down. So kind of devoting his resources to this Banshee attack, and here come these Marauders who are stimmed, going to be taking out a handful of these SCVs. Looking at the SCV count, the little one already very far ahead at this point because of that Banshee harass, but Servyoa has these Vikings in here as well, so going to be able to take out a whole bunch of it and kind of even out the score a bit. Marauders are a little bit slower to kill the SCVs, but now I think with the slow on, it's going to slow them down from running away. Going to try to take out whatever he can, and sees that the little one is throwing down 3 more barracks. Just has a big mix of units and not particularly dedicating anyone. Now getting Viking Banshee combination, and here comes that tank. Is it going to be able to pull those Marauders in? No, it's not. Servyoa able to take out one of the Slide Eagles, but not going to be enough. This Banshee is going to come in and clean up. These Vikings, meanwhile, landed and was able to drive away all sort of mining from that base. At this point, Servyoa has done a great counterattack on the supply line, has kind of stopped mining at the expansion. Unfortunately, unable to lift off these guys now that these 2 Vikings are hovering over them ominously. So the little one needs to come in and kind of try to clean up before he can keep mining. Servyoa pulling a little bit ahead in the mining now, has 36 over 29. And we'll see if he can use that to his advantage. Vikings are gone. The SCVs rush back in to try to do some damage. And meanwhile, it looks like the little one going with a whole combination, a nice mix of all sorts of units. So good to see that this game isn't really that tank. Well, at this point, I guess Servyoa could be going the tank Marauder ground combination, and now going to match barracks with the little one as well. And so both sides just kind of massing away, but here comes the little one with some sort of push. This medvac is here. I'm not entirely sure why, but kind of just, kind of lonely, one of those flying units that just wants to get out here and have a good time. We do have 2 Marines that it can heal, and so, maybe distract the opponent a little bit too. Meanwhile, Servyoa has another medvac full of these lovely... Oh, will he lose it? No, probably not. Medvacs can sustain quite a few shots from the Vikings. And now we have a little bit of a Viking war going on. The little one getting caught off guard. Servyoa with the first strike there. So, at this point, Servyoa does have enough to really hold off any sort of ground attack incoming here, but if the little one keeps on with that Banshee. Here is that dropship with the medvac with the Marauders, and they are going to go in and do some punishment to this SCV line. Hopefully it's not going to be too bad. They're getting slowed. They're slowly trying to run away. That medvac is going to go down fast, so these Marauders are now stranded out here and going to try to do as much damage as they can before they meet their own untimely death as well, as everything kind of just rushes in and kills them. The SCV is going for the surround. Looks like there's movement in Servyoa's base. He's going to be taking this time to kind of push out. Knows that the little one has dedicated some units here and going to be running into this tank fire. Great line by the little one, but it's going to fall pretty quickly to that Marauder tank combination. And so Servyoa able to kind of take down the supply line of the little one. Doesn't have to spend that many units to do it, and at the same time reclaims map control, able to set up right here, able to set up his tanks as well. Looking at the unit count, we see that the little one has a nice mix of units all over the place, and now going to go for his counterattack dropship with Marines instead to show the power of the Marines. Oh, it's going to be one Marine makes it out of there just in time, just to harass these Vikings. They're probably going to land and fry him, and they do, jumping right back up in the air. Servyoa going to be scanning to see if the little one has taken his gold expansion or any other expansion on the map, or possibly going to take some really sneaky expansion himself, although very, very risky. Throwing down a few scans, making sure that his opponent hasn't done anything crazy like taking the gold expansion as he is now doing himself. Meanwhile, the little one going to be floating out one of his barracks and using it as a scouting barracks to kind of see ahead into the field. Going to be able to absorb a good amount of damage before it goes down, known as the sacrificial buildings from the Terran. The Zerg have the sacrificial overlord, and the Terran have their sacrificial buildings. So right now, army count looks like Servyoa is ahead and now building some Reapers, and this is pretty interesting. You really don't see Reapers too late in the game, but he wants him here. It's gonna build a supply depot here. Interesting, to block off the command center from landing, and has a few Reapers just standing around. Meanwhile, this barracks just kind of hovering around, can see things. And here we go. We got a battle of the little one going to move in with his air army. Has outmassed those Vikings and now has the Banshees kind of ripping up the base. The Servyoa, realizing that, you know, his Marauders can't do anything against that army, is just going to move in, but the little one does have the siege tanks on the cliff and is going to be unable. Servyoa going to try to have to drop right on top of those siege tanks to get any damage done, which he can do, and takes out the siege tanks. Now we're kind of in a base trade situation, but once these Banshees make it back, it's going to be really difficult for Servyoa to defend with these Marauders, and going to try to take out as many of these SCVs as possible. But I think these Marauders are going to go down pretty soon to this mix of units. Meanwhile, Servyoa has not pulled back his tanks and does have one set up right now. But good, interesting base trade and swap by the two. The Vikings landing right on top of the tank, right out of range of its own siege mode. So still doing massive amounts of damage. Servyoa now realizing that he might have to pull back with his units as well to kind of take care of the remainder of these Vikings. The Vikings going to slowly fly up into the air, trying to get that into the red so they can go down. But the little one just coming back with a huge, massive army of air, and without the Thors and without Vikings, it looks like Servyoa is not going to be able to stand up against this. And down goes the factory. So great push on both sides. The little one alternating between air and non-air, and just a great timing attack to kind of catch his opponent off guard in terms of the air. Came in with more Vikings and has the Banshees. Knew that his opponent was going with the tanks and the Marauders, and now able to see everything that he's kind of see where his opponent is sneaking out to. But looks like it might have to be GG for Servyoa pretty soon. You know, maybe next time, if there were some Thors around, they could have fought off the Banshees a little more, but given the harassment, and a big G by Servyoa. So great game by both players, constant harassment on both sides, a lot of trading, and still kept up that Banshee Viking attack. So great game, and this has been another broadcast by JCS Starcraft. I am signing off.